Today I'm reacting to your wrestling hot takes. If you're wondering why I'm wearing the same video and look identical to what I did a week ago in the previous hot takes video, it's because I'm on vacation currently in Portugal, so I filmed these back to back. But yeah, this is the series where I ask for your wrestling hot takes and give you a platform to be able to sound off. This week's hot takes come from the YouTube community tab, so make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so that you can see whenever I make that next post. And as always, just make sure that those notifications are on. That way you don't miss any of the videos that we post because we upload daily wrestling content. All right, say it with me. Let's read some stupid shit. Mark Henry is one of the most underrated superstars of all time. One of the best big men ever, and managed to revitalize his career multiple times over almost 20 years. And his character range is great, from the comedic sexual chocolate to the simply world's strongest man to the scary Hall of Pain gimmick. I love Mark Henry. I feel like Mark Henry is one of those gems that WWE didn't realize was a gem until way too late in his career. I did like the world's strongest man shtick throughout the Ruthless Aggression era, but it didn't quite hit until he really became that monster during his Hall of Pain era in 2011. By that point, he only had about 5-6 years left in the tank. They just took way too long to realize the magic that they had with Mark Henry, because Mark Henry is fantastic. He is so good, and he's demonstrated that he's not only just a huge in-ring presence that can kick your ass, he's also demonstrated that he can be great on the microphone. Just watch that fake retirement with John Cena when he's wearing the salmon jacket. It's so good. The 2020 Royal Rumble is the best Rumble ever. The story of Brock dominating the whole thing until he gets claymored by McIntyre is amazing. Drew was finally getting his opportunity to be the quote chosen one after all of those years in the company. That is also where Edge returned, and many great wrestlers appeared as well. Dude, I loved the 2020 Royal Rumble. I feel like it somehow doesn't get talked about enough because immediately after the Rumble, the world went to shit with the pandemonium. Again, I don't know if I can say the P word on YouTube yet. You don't want to get demonetized and whatnot, but the 2020 Royal Rumble is so good for all of the reasons that you mentioned here. It's one of those few Royal Rumbles as well that had like a cool narrative being told from the beginning. As you said, Brock Lesnar dominating everyone up until, you know, he runs into somebody that's as formidable as him in Drew McIntyre. It told such a cool in-ring narrative in that way. And of course, the return of Edge. Like, dude, that to me is like the greatest return in Royal Rumble history. A Hall of Famer whose career was cut short due to injury just magically appearing in the Royal Rumble. And, you know, I wasn't as into the dirt sheets as I probably have to be now as a wrestling content creator. So I didn't see that coming at all. To me, that was a genuine surprise that Edge came back to the WWE. I love this Rumble. Despite the pandemic era being one of the most depressing eras in wrestling, I really found what the WWE did during that time very entertaining. Like, for example, the Money in the Bank match in 2020 and the Bloodline storyline starting. Yeah, there's a lot of cool nuggets from the pandemic era, but for every cool nugget that you can mention about the pandemic era, I can name you 10 terrible things from the pandemic era. I think the pandemic era is one of the worst eras to watch professional wrestling, but there were some really cool pieces of creativity, and you mentioned obviously two of them. The Bloodline storyline, of course, ended up being one of the greatest storylines in professional wrestling history, and that did start during the Thunderdome era, as well as the Money in the Bank match in 2020. I don't personally love it, but I love the type of creativity that they took. It was just so unique, so different, and it was wacky, and it kind of hit perfectly at a time where we kind of needed laughter and wackiness. Let's not forget that Baron Corbin murdered Rey Mysterio by throwing him off the top of Titan Towers. But yeah, like I said, for every good thing the pandemic era of wrestling brought, there were like 30 bad things. Big Show versus Akebono was the greatest WrestleMania match ever. Tell me when he's saying lies. I always enjoyed Apollo Crews. I think he had and still has so much potential. He could be a top babyface or at least an upper mid-carder someday. So I really like Apollo Crews from an in-ring perspective. The problem is that he has the personality of a baked potato, in that he doesn't have a personality. I look, anytime he gets on the microphone, every time he's in front of a camera, when he's asked to act, he's not believable. And when you're not believable in that aspect of the job, it's tough to care about you, no matter how good you are in the ring. That's ultimately the biggest problem with Apollo Crews, and probably why you don't see him very often on the main roster anymore. This video is brought to you by by patreon.com/SantiZap, where you're going to get even more wrestling content than you're already getting here on this channel. You're going to get the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days early. You're going to get the Monday Night Raw reviews, the Smackdown reviews, the wrestling Q&As that we're doing over there, and more. So go check it out. Patreon.com/SantiZap. There might be something that you like there. It'll be the top link in the description. All right, back to the video. Pretty Deadly deserves a title run more than Cody and Jay ever did and ever will. Yes, boy! Well, I mean, not just Pretty Deadly, but just about every other tag team in the tag team division that deserves the tag titles more than Cody and Jay, two guys that aren't a tag team. So, yeah, of course I agree with this, but Pretty Deadly is also one of my favorite wrestling acts right now. I really like wrestling acts like Pretty Deadly. They've always worked on me, and they still do. So shout out to Pretty Deadly. I think that the internet wrestling community overreacting is taking away a lot from the appeal of long-term storytelling. The negativity we see online makes the time between payoffs a lot less fun than normal. Yeah, dude, I don't know what to tell you. The IWC has and will always be like this. They will never change. They've been angry and bitter people ever since the days of online forums in the early 2000s, and they're still that way in the days of Twitter, Reddit, and the YouTube comments. You want to know the best way to not have the IWC impact your enjoyment of professional wrestling? Don't participate in the narrative, and I promise you wrestling will be far more enjoyable. Ricochet is one of the best in-ring performers in WWE right now. He's severely underrated and needs to be world champion. All he needs is a gimmick change and he can be a top star. Sure, he's one of the best in-ring performers. Don't disagree there. He's severely underrated in what regard? Because a lot of us already believe that he is a fantastic in-ring performer. If you're trying to tell me that he's underrated as a character worker, you are wildly wrong, because Ricochet is not a great character worker. I mean, you're even saying this, that he needs a gimmick change. But the fact is, I don't think a gimmick change is going to change the fact that he's just not charismatic enough on the microphone. That's his biggest problem right now. He's better than Apollo Crews, but he was given an opportunity against Logan Paul to really demonstrate his personality, and it still didn't come through. It still felt super forced. So until he can figure that out, a gimmick change isn't going to do anything for him. Sheamus is the most underrated wrestler of all time and suffered from bad PG era booking for most of his early career. So he was booked very, very strong when he was a heel in the early portions of his career. I think where things got a little bit messy was when they made him a babyface and they tried to make him the biggest babyface in the company, opposite of John Cena. And I think that he could have been. Unfortunately, he was a victim of, like you said here, poor booking decisions and just poor timing. Poor timing in that a guy named Daniel Bryan existed. A guy named Daniel Bryan became popular, and partly became so popular because of the bad booking decisions that they made for Sheamus. Look at WrestleMania 28. If that booking decision doesn't happen, if the WWE decides to let them have a regular match, and by them I mean Sheamus and Daniel Bryan for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 28, I don't think that the Daniel Bryan movement and the clamoring for Daniel Bryan is as hot as it ultimately ended up being. So WWE kind of shot themselves in the foot by trying to oversell Sheamus as this powerful babyface. They should have just let him have a great match. Because after that, a lot of people at least, not everybody, a lot of people started resenting babyface Sheamus. Zack Ryder, aka Matt Cardona, would still have an amazing career in the WWE if he came back. I agree. I don't think he'd be this like Roman Reigns destroyer, or he would beat Gunther. I think he'd have a great spot in the WWE as kind of like the Chelsea Green of the men's division. I think that the men's division needs a character like that, and I think that Matt Cardona could absolutely play that role. He's playing that role right now in the independent circuit, and he's playing it so well. Let's have that character come over to the WWE unchanged, and I think he'd work magic in the WWE. Stone Cold Steve Austin has the greatest theme song of all time. It has that automatic pop and then it goes to a bop of a song. I don't think it's the greatest theme song of all time, but I think it's the best pop-inducing theme song of all time. That first note, like you mentioned, the glass shattered, I don't think that there's a theme song that has anything as cool or as good as that to generate a pop right off the get-go. The Cabinet was an underrated stable. Jesus Christ, are you talking about the JBL JBL Cabinet, that is a pull from the past. That is an obscure ass goddamn stable. No, they're not an underrated stable. they kind of sucked, frankly. But shout out to the Cabinet. Shout out to you for remembering them. Ludwig Kaiser should win the Intercontinental title against Gunther at either WrestleMania or Royal Rumble. They are building him up with credible opponents, and I think they can set up a great face turn for Ludwig and have him beat Vinci, then Gunther. See, I don't think so. I think that Ludwig Kaiser is going to be a forever heel. He just looks like a heel. He looks like a James Bond bad guy. I don't think that he could be a good face. He just doesn't have the look for it. And I think that the storyline that a lot of people are referring to, oh my God, he's going to be turning babyface, is how like Gunther keeps bullying Kaiser into like not, because he's not being as good as he should be. But like, this is just the same story that they told for Vinci, and people were expecting a Vinci face turn then, and it didn't happen. It's literally just the story of the in-bickering between the two little boys of Imperium trying to win the affection of the big daddy Gunther. I don't think that this is going to lead to a face turn for either of them. In a previous video of yours, you've said that factions are better as heels, and those good babyface factions were once heels, like the New Day. But I think I'd like to argue that Alpha Academy would be probably the first successful babyface faction that weren't heels. I'm talking about Alpha Academy, the faction, not the initial tag team of Gable and Otis before Maxine and Tozawa. Well, now you're just trying to pull semantics out of this and try and pull a fast one on me with these semantics, because my point still stands. They aren't a faction that started as baby faces simply because once they finally added a third person, they were a baby face. No, they started off as heels. They got over as heels. They expanded, sure, when they became baby faces, and I guess, sure, by the definition of what a faction is, then became a faction. But this doesn't make the argument that they were a good babyface faction from the get-go. No. Don't try and pull a fast one on me. They were heels and then baby faces, and then just happened to add a third and fourth person. WWE needs to bring a show that gives opportunities for NXT superstars to go into the main roster and the main roster superstars to come to NXT. I kind of like that. I don't know how we would do this, but I'm kind of down. I think we could do maybe like tournaments here or there. The NXT already does it pretty well with things like the Heritage Cup Classic, bringing in those lower mid-card WWE main roster members like the Butches of the world, Ridge the Fridge, Tozawas, things like that. But I kind of like to see the other way around as well. I'd like to see a way for the main roster to incorporate NXT talent a little bit more. Now, Monday Night Raw does do this from a storyline perspective a little bit better, because they do typically have some sort of storyline between somebody in the main roster and somebody in NXT that allows for interaction across both of the shows on Raw and NXT. But I see what you mean. Something a little bit more concrete. I'm kind of down for that. Santos Escobar's promo on Smackdown was the best heel promo of the year so far. Yes, and who the hell had that on their bingo card? I did not have Santos Escobar cutting the best heel promo of the year. Not even by a mile. I thought that promo was excellent, and it finally gave Santos Escobar a character. It finally gave Santos Escobar dimensions and an actual reason for us to give a damn about him. That heel promo was magnifique. Survivor Series War Games is cool, but what about the traditional Raw versus SmackDown matches? I find them very entertaining to watch. Should Bragging Rights pay-per-view be back for that? I like them when there was actually a brand split. Now there isn't. Now you can just make these matches for the sake of making these matches without needing a PLE to make these matches. I mean, you have guys cross-pollinating all the time across these shows. So if you decide to have a show like Bragging Rights, it just won't feel special, because everyone's just gonna ask the question, we could have done this on any random ass episode of Raw or SmackDown because of how much people go between shows. So I don't think it works in today's WWE, sadly, as much as I really liked Raw versus SmackDown Survivor Series matches. DIY should be the new tag team champions because they have shown how good they are on the main roster, and beating the Judgment Day would help Damian Priest focus on the cash-in. I don't think that the WWE has built up DIY to be credible contenders to the tag titles. I just don't see it. I know that they're trying hard. I know they're trying hard to recreate the magic of Black and Gold, but they haven't been able to. So I just don't see them as a credible contender to the Judgment Day at this point. Sometimes celebrities who participate in the match are miles ahead than other talent. No, the celebrity looks great because they're being carried by the actual professional wrestler. Let's not pretend like Johnny Knoxville is some 5-star wrestler, 10 out of 10 stars, Japan, Tokyo Dome style wrestler. He looked great great because Sami Zayn is great, because Sami Zayn is the one that's put years into his craft and is so good that he could have a fantastic match with a mop. That's why these celebrities look great, not because they're better than the professional wrestlers that have been doing this for a while. Logan Paul? That's a different fucking story because he is just a freak of nature. People can't trash talk Vince McMahon because of his decisions over the last couple of years. The man is literally a legend because he created so much, like Austin 316, John Cena. If we didn't have Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the WWE would never be where it is today. Timmy Bobby, please use a period, use a comma, use just basic grammar. That was so hard to read. But yeah, we absolutely can trash talk Vince McMahon. Let me let you in on a little secret. The world of professional wrestling is a cutthroat one. It's really about what have you done for me lately? And if what you've done for me lately is garbage, you're going to get trash talked. That's just how it is. The Money in the Bank briefcase should be defended under 24/7 rules. God, no, I don't want that. Please, no, never suggest that ever again. But I would like to see Money in the Bank briefcase holders maybe put up the briefcase on the line and defend the briefcase in like a regular match. That could be kind of interesting. It's happened every now and again, but not very often. But no, God, no, this is a terrible idea. Wrestling doesn't feel the same without Bray Wyatt. I get you, man. I went through it with Eddie Guerrero. It'll pass, I promise you. Jinder Mahal's title reign was awesome. WWE just failed to capitalize on it properly. What do you mean they failed to capitalize on it? He beat Randy Orton. He beat Nakamura. This dude was unbeatable. What did you need them to do in order to make Jinder Mahal's title reign awesome? Look, the title reign just wasn't awesome because he shouldn't have had the title in the first place. I will say, I really liked that they were true to the word that SmackDown was the land of opportunity, and they gave an opportunity to somebody like Jinder Mahal. However, it still just felt entirely unearned. I'm cool with giving opportunities to new guys, but that fast, that quickly, and to be the biggest prize in the business, that bothers me. But hey, you know what? I'm not one to hinder Jinder too much. Wrestling fans put way too much focus on how much money their favorite companies make instead of how entertaining it is. Yeah, dude, I've always found that to be so weird. Like, dude, why do you care about WWE's financials? Cool, I understand. It means that we're gonna get, I guess, more wrestling because the company isn't going to go out of business. But here's the thing. What if they had record revenue, but they gave us shit booking and it was terrible television, which is what was happening in the 2010s. So the revenue doesn't mean that we're going to get better television or that your favorite wrestling company is winning. Who cares? Who cares about how they're doing financially? Who cares about how they're doing in terms of ratings? So long as they're healthy enough to be on TV and healthy enough to give us the product, that's all that matters. We should be caring about a fun, entertaining product, not how much fucking Vince McMahon is lining his pockets with this year in this fiscal year. Ellie Knight is extremely annoying, and people think he's so great when he really isn't. Yes, he's good on the mic, but he's only won matches because of people liking him. If LA never got so many fans, he would still be a no-namer that just shows up randomly in filler matches. Wow, it's kind of crazy how wrestling works. You get popular, you get fans, you appear more on TV, you win more. My goodness, it's kind of like that's just how wrestling is. What the fuck are you expecting? Like a guy that doesn't have fans that's really good in the ring to be world champion? He needs fans in order for the WWE to make him want to win matches, in order for the WWE to make him or her want to win titles. This is so brain dead. I'm sorry. I feel like Chelsea Green is a world championship material kind of women's wrestler, and WWE should start treating her that way. Yes, I think that there is a place for a hilarious world championship run by Chelsea Green. Right now, the WWE is very focused on these badass top of the food chain women winning these titles, when I think that a devious champion is due. Somebody like a Chelsea Green, somebody who has Piper Niven do the heavy lifting, somebody that is able to get away with underhanded tactics. It's been a while that we've had a female champion like that, and I think that Chelsea Green could really help fill that void. And frankly, she's earned it. She's such a great worker. The WLC match between El Torito and Hornswoggle at Extreme Rules 2014 was better than Roman versus Triple H at WrestleMania 32. Dude, This is like, it's just true what you're saying. It's just actual facts. That WLC match is unironically really good, and Roman versus Triple H is unironically really bad. So put two and two together, WLC for the win. Cody Rhodes is underbooked, and because of that, he's unappreciated, and it's not his fault. I don't know what wrestling show you're watching where you think that Cody Rhodes is underbooked and underappreciated. No, we're not watching the same show. If you leave WWE like Sasha Banks, Daniel Bryan, or even Edge, you will never make it as big as you did when you were in the WWE. That is wrong. Brock Lesnar got huge, came back, and was a bigger name than he was when he left WWE. Drew Galloway, aka Drew McIntyre, left because things weren't working for him. He was in 3MB, came back, superstar in NXT Black and Gold. It's just wrong, dude. And I'm sure there's more examples. I'm just throwing out some super quick ones off the top of my head. All right, those are the hot takes for this week. I'll see you in the next one. I'm done. Get out of here.